Welcome in, everyone. Get ready to dive deep into the world of picking the perfect project approach, because believe me, this isn't a one-size-fits-all situation.
You're telling me this is one of those things that can really make or break a project right from the get-go.
So true. Choosing the wrong approach. It's like, I don't know, showing up to run a marathon in flip-flops. Not setting yourself up for success, are you?
The worst footwear choice. But that's a great analogy, actually. Choosing the wrong project approach can be just as detrimental.
Okay, I'm liking where this is going. So, before we even think about specific project methodologies, what are some of the key things we need to assess about our project? What questions should we be asking ourselves?
Well, first off, think about it like this. Every project, it's kind of got its own personality. So before diving into methodologies, you got to assess those unique project needs.
Project needs. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so walk me through it. What are some of those needs we need to consider?
So imagine this. You're a tech startup launching a hot new app. Speed is everything, right? You got to hit the market running.
Absolutely. Got to be first to the finish line in the tech world.
Right. But then flip the script. Picture a team of engineers designing a massive suspension bridge. I'm thinking precision, long-term stability. Those are non-negotiables in that scenario, wouldn't you say?
Totally different ballgame.
Yeah.
I'd want that bridge built to last a few centuries for sure. So, need number one, figuring out if it's more of a need for speed project or a slow and steady wins the race kind of deal. What else?
On point. And that leads us to our next consideration, complexity. Some projects, let's be honest, they're just plain naughty. Think tons of technical stuff, whole bunch of different teams, and stakeholders galore. All those moving parts definitely factor in.
Oh yeah, I could see how that would complicate things, to say the least. You're juggling a lot more when you've got all those elements in the mix.
Exactly. And speaking of juggling, the more stakeholders you have, the more opinions and perspectives you've got to navigate. And trust me, keeping everyone on the same page, that's a skill and a half in project management.
I bet. So we've got the project's need for speed, its complexity, anything else. What about the size of the project? Does that come into play?
Absolutely. Don't underestimate the importance of what we call project magnitude. This is about the sheer scale, how much money are we talking, how big's the team, how long will it take, all that jazz. Because a small-scale, short-term project, you could be way more flexible, but a massive, multi-year endeavor, that requires some serious structure and planning up front. There's no way around it.
So going back to our earlier examples, a simple app update versus building a suspension bridge from scratch. Those are vastly different beasts, magnitude-wise.
You got it. Or think about something like a complex healthcare IT integration project. We're talking merging patient records, billing systems, everything across different hospitals and departments. That's a massive undertaking. High complexity, huge magnitude. You got to factor all that in when you're deciding on the best approach.
Okay, so we've got a good handle on our project's needs, its complexity, and its scale. What's next on our project management checklist?
Hold your horses. Before we jump into methodologies, there's another crucial factor we need to discuss. One that can make or break even the most well-planned project. And that, my friend, is the budget.
All right, let's talk money. Because even the most amazing project idea can go south pretty quickly if the budget isn't right, am I right?
You know it. Budgeting, it's not always the most glamorous part of project management, but boy, is it important. It's like, I don't know, planning a vacation, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't book a trip without having some kind of budget in mind.
Totally. Whether it's a weekend camping trip or a fancy European vacation, that budget definitely shapes your choices.
Exactly. And just like you wouldn't choose the same type of trip for every occasion, you wouldn't choose the same budgeting approach for every project.
Okay, so let's break it down. What are our options when it comes to actually structuring the financial side of a project?
So, there are a few common approaches. One is the fixed price contract. Pretty self-explanatory. You agree on a fixed price for the entire project up front. It's like, ordering a custom cake. You pick the flavors, the design, the size, everything, and the baker gives you a set price. No surprises.
I do love a good cake analogy. So with fixed price, I know exactly what I'm getting, and I know exactly how much it will cost. Sounds pretty appealing, especially if you're someone who likes to avoid surprises.
It definitely offers that peace of mind. You know exactly where you stand financially. That's why it often works well for projects where the scope is super clear, and you really want to minimize any potential for budget overruns.
Makes sense. But what about projects where things are a bit more, shall we say, fluid, where we might need to adjust course along the way?
That's where a time and materials contract might be a better fit. In this scenario, you're essentially paying for the actual time spent on the project and the materials used as you go. Imagine taking your car to the mechanic. It's making a funny noise, but you're not quite sure what's wrong. They need to diagnose it first.
Ah, yes, the dreaded open-ended car repair scenario. Never a fun experience for the wallet. So, time and materials, it's a good option when there's a lot of unknowns at the start.
Exactly. It gives you that flexibility to adapt as you go, which is super valuable in those situations. The trade-off, of course, is that the final cost can be a bit less predictable.
Got it. So fixed price gives us predictability, time and materials offers flexibility. Is there a middle ground here?
There is, and that brings us to our third option, the cost reimbursable contract. This approach offers a lot of flexibility, but it also requires a high level of trust and transparency between everyone involved. Basically, you're reimbursing the vendor for all of their eligible costs. Think labor, materials, all that, plus an agreed-upon fee or profit margin.
Sounds like this option is best suited for those really complex projects with lots of unknowns. The kind of project where being able to adapt quickly is essential.
Absolutely. It's a good fit for projects that are more like, say, a research expedition than a well-mapped road trip. You have a general direction, but you're prepared for unexpected discoveries and course corrections along the way.
So we've covered project needs, complexity, magnitude, and now our financial strategy. I'm sensing it's finally time to dive into the methodologies themselves. Right? Okay, we've laid the groundwork, budget, project needs, the whole 9 yards. I think it's time to talk methodologies. What are our options?
This is where things get fun. It's like picking the right tool for the job. We've got a range from structured frameworks to more flexible approaches.
Hit me with it. I'm ready to explore those tools.
All right, let's start with a classic, waterfall. Imagine a cascading waterfall flowing steadily downwards step by step. That's waterfall in a nutshell. You plan everything up front in detail. Then you move through each project phase sequentially, like following a recipe.
So if waterfall is all about meticulous upfront planning, I'm guessing it's best for projects with a clear vision from the start. No surprises.
Spot on. Think constructing a building. You wouldn't start laying bricks without an architect's blueprint, right? Waterfall's great when you've got well-defined requirements, a predictable scope, and when minimizing risks is a top priority. It's all about sticking to the plan.
Makes sense. But what about projects where we need to be more adaptable, like where we know change is inevitable and we got to adjust on the fly?
That's where Agile comes in. Picture a nimble sailboat navigating changing winds and currents. Agile is all about flexibility, collaboration, and embracing change. Instead of that big upfront plan, you break the project down into smaller chunks called sprints.
Sprints, what are those?
Think of them as short bursts of focused work, like in a race. Each sprint typically lasts a couple of weeks. The team focuses on completing a set of tasks within that time box. At the end, you review, adapt, and plan for the next sprint.
So it's less about rigidly sticking to a plan and more about rolling with the punches, getting feedback, and adapting.
Right. Exactly. It's perfect for dynamic environments where those requirements are likely to shift, like software development. Imagine building a mobile app.
User feedback is crucial, yeah. With Agile, you get early versions of the app out there, incorporate user feedback, and keep iterating. It's all about continuous improvement.
So waterfall for predictability, Agile for adaptability. But what if a project needs both? Is there a way to blend these approaches?
You're thinking like a pro. Many projects need a blend of structure and flexibility. That's where hybrid methodologies shine. It's about taking the best of both worlds, the predictability of waterfall for certain phases and the agility of Agile for others.
Like having a Swiss Army knife of project management approaches. You choose the right tool for each phase of the project. So how would this play out in a real project?
Let's say you're launching a new product. The initial research phase might call for a more waterfall-like approach to define the product roadmap clearly. But once you hit development, you might shift gears to Agile to accommodate those inevitable market changes and user feedback. That makes a lot of sense, adapting the approach as you go. So it's not about forcing your project into a predefined box. It's about choosing the best tools and methods for each stage, right?
Exactly. Now, regardless of your chosen methodology, one thing remains crucial: a commitment to learning and improving as you go.
Ooh, I like that. How do we build that into our projects?
Regular lessons learned sessions are key. It's like after a trip, you sit down with your travel buddies and discuss what worked well, what you'd do differently next time.
Love that analogy. A little post-project reflection session to gather those golden nuggets of wisdom.
Exactly. It's about creating a safe space for honest feedback, identifying those valuable lessons that can inform future projects. What went well, what could have been better, any unexpected roadblocks, lay it all out.
And most importantly, how can we apply those learnings to future endeavors and make them even better?
Now you're getting it. And remember, these lessons learned sessions aren't just for the internal team. Involve your stakeholders too. Keep those communication lines open throughout the project, regular updates, opportunities for feedback. That keeps everyone on the same page and engaged.
Because, in the end, a project's success isn't just about deadlines and budgets, but also about delivering something that truly meets everyone's needs, right?
100%. And that brings us to another essential element for success, no matter the methodology, risk management.
Because, let's face it, no matter how well we plan, life throws curveballs. Projects are no different.
Exactly. It's like packing for that trip. You always pack an umbrella, even if the forecast looks sunny. In project management, risk management is about identifying potential challenges up front. You assess their impact and have plans in place to mitigate those risks.
So it's not about trying to avoid risk altogether, which is impossible, but about being prepared, having those just-in-case scenarios mapped out.
Exactly. Being prepared can make the difference between a minor hiccup and a major project derailment. It's about navigating those inevitable bumps in the road smoothly.
This has been an incredible deep dive. I feel so much more equipped to tackle my next project. As we wrap up, what are the key takeaways our listeners should keep in mind?
First things first, remember there's no one-size-fits-all approach. Each project is unique. Before you even think methodologies, understand your project's needs. Its complexity, its scale, your risk appetite. Once you've got that down, you can explore the different methodologies and pick what suits you best.
And don't underestimate the power of continuous improvement, those iterative practices we talked about.
Yeah.
Regular lessons learned sessions, open communication, proactive risk management. These can significantly boost your project's success rate.
Couldn't agree more. Project management is an ongoing journey. Embrace the challenges, celebrate the wins, and always strive to refine your approach.
Beautifully said. Now here's a final thought for our listeners. In a world that's constantly changing, becoming more complex by the minute, can we truly predict every twist and turn in a project? Something to ponder as you embark on your next project management adventure.